Hello and welcome to anyone that's watching this video. I'm doing a spin-off show. I'm going to leave my Paranormal UK Radio Network show aside. I'll still be doing that, but this is going to be a spin-off type show, which is going to be something that's close to my heart, about trying to get the truth out about what's going on in the world. And I hope to be talking to quite a few different people that some of you may not have heard of, or some you will have heard of. We will try to examine all sorts of things that are going on. There's so much horror going on in the world with this pandemic, and some of you might even not, some of you may even disagree with me about what's going on. But hopefully we'll try and get some truth out. I'm going to be talking about paedophiles in the upper echelons of royalty and the parliamentary and all kinds of sex trafficking and everything. I'm going to try and get some truth out. But anyway, my first guest on this occasion is a man named Wayne Fox, who a lot of you would have heard of. Some may not have, but so I'd like to sort of introduce you to him. He knows a lot about what's going on. Wayne and I have become quite close, over recent months and over probably the last year or so. And we see a lot of things eye to eye. And I probably will do a few shows with him because he's got a lot of knowledge about what's going on. But anyway, thanks for joining me on this video. I hope you will enjoy and maybe learn something. I always learn something off of anything I do. Things become apparent to me when I talk to people. So, yeah, so settle back and hope you enjoy it. Hello, Wayne. Hello, Wayne. Got you? How are you?
Got you, Dave. Oh, I'm very well.
Nice to speak to you again.
And nice to speak to you. Loving the t-shirt, brother.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, it's actually black, but it's looking mauve here, isn't it? But
I've got black on as well tonight, but just
it must be the lighting because I've got light straight above me here. But anyway, as we spoke the other day, things are quite developing in quite a frightening manner, aren't they?
Well, there's a lot of things happening at the moment out there. There really is.
There's a lot of scared people about thinking about all these, well, not only the vaccine, but the vaccine passports are not being allowed into certain venues and everything like that. Where do you see all this going, Wayne?
Well, I see it as fear, David. I see it as fear. And they're projecting the fear on the people. Now, what brothers and sisters out there have got to understand is you need to stand up and speak your truths and not be fearful. And when you're not fearful, you cannot be controlled, no matter what they're trying to enforce. Because as we know, this enforcement they're trying to do is coercion and it's not law. Okay. And all these acts and stats that they're passing through Parliament and around the world and saying you need this, you need that. Remember, it's your body, it's your choice. This vessel you've been given on your life journeys is yours. It's no one else's. And you have the overall right of that body to decide what you do with it. And if you accept what's being given, no one can force you to take it. It's not law. And this is what people need to understand.
I think the problem is that we've got certain businesses that are going to, well, I don't know if it's going to happen in this country. It looks like it might be heading that way. That they won't serve you unless you've got a vaccine passport. Now, where does the way I see the law on that, I think it's complete discrimination, and I think there'll be a lot of court cases that will be coming up about it. How do you see that?
Well, what's basically happening, a lot of people who are doing this coercion are being served notices as we speak. Now, there's a lot of notices going to schools. There's a lot of notices going to MPs. There's a lot of notices going to even celebrities and presenters. Now, a lot of people don't understand, and even hospitals have had notices as well. Now, what they don't understand is this notice that they've been given is legally binding. They might not think it's nothing at the moment, but when the court cases start and the Nuremberg trials start, and they will, they are all liable because they were served papers with the evidence, with the proof. And they did not listen. They went ahead with what they were doing. And there's no way they're going to get their asses out of this, because they have took part of a mass genocide of the human race. We are just hearing at the moment in Israel, a lot of people have been vaccinated, virtually nearly all in Israel, their population, because they've been coerced. A lot of them are falling unwell, and a lot of them are being rushed to hospital, and there's a lot of people dying. Now, is this going to escalate? And what we're seeing in our country as well, they've ordered another 35 million. Now Boris is on the telly saying that everybody needs to take their booster shots. Whereas we know a lot of people are not going to be taking this because they know the truth now. They've realised what they've done. They've realised they've been coerced, and a lot of them took it, you know, because they wanted to go on holiday earlier on in the year, or a lot of them were fearful of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But basically, you know, it was a big lie. It was a big lie to take this chemical pathogen, as we know what it does to people. Now, there's reports that they're saying if anyone's taken these chemical pathogens, especially 2 of them, there's a lot of people that are now going to the hospitals. Now, as we know with these hospitals, a lot of these hospitals have 5G system working in there now, which they don't let you know. Well, that will react with your vaccines that you've had put in your body. So this is why a lot of people who go to hospital become very unwell. They go in with something and then something else happens. And as we know, a lot of them are not coming out because they're being put on ventilators, or, you know, Liverpool pathway, end of life.
Yeah, yeah.
Nil by mouth. And as you know, they brought in the DNR, do not resuscitate order.
Yeah,
for Scotland and
isn't it,
England.
if you're over 60, isn't it? Something stupid like that.
45 in Scotland.
45. Yeah.
And I think it's 50 in England, but 45 in Scotland.
Oh, I thought it was 60.
60.
So that puts us well out then, Wayne, doesn't it?
Now, yeah. Now, as we know, we have not taken this chemical pathogen, brother. And we have got through 21 months of this so-called scamdemic.
Yeah, mixing with thousands of people. Yeah.
We've been with millions, Dave, not thousands.
Well, that's
millions.
right, millions. Yeah, yeah, you're right.
And we've also not worn masks. We've not had no chemical pathogens put into us. We must be walking miracles, brother.
Yeah. When I had, as you know, I had a bit of a cold last week, but I've got over that.
Yeah.
And no way would I, no one would I have thought that, oh, blimey, I've got COVID, and go rushing off to get a test or something like that. You know. I mean, as we know, these PCR tests are completely useless anyway. Up to 97% false positives, and a lot of people still don't realise that, and I don't understand why. You know, this is that why again. I don't understand why they don't understand that. Is it because they just don't investigate, or they don't see these sort of posts that we put on Facebook?
What it basically is, knowledge is power, as we know. Now, we may be called conspiracy theorists, anti-vaxxers, you know, you get called all sorts, but everything that was said and told the last year or so, the last 21 months, has come to pass.
Yeah,
even about the name of COVID, when we said what it stands for, Certificate of Vaccination ID.
Yeah.
Now, it's all coming to apparent now. Now, also, there's people out there, they may be lucky, that have took placebos, that have just had saline injected into them. But they are still fearful that they've taken 2 chemical pathogens, not knowing that they might have just took a placebo.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point, what you've just said there. Why are there placebos? And why aren't people being told they're being given a placebo? Because that to me is fraud.
And the reason why they've done it is to take the heat off them, so it doesn't look like everyone's dying from the chemical pathogen what they're giving out. It's quite a clever sort of setup how they've done it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people who may see this may think, "Oh, what are placebos?" They haven't been told that it's placebos. I know of a couple of people I've told about. Oh, did you know there's placebos? And it's not sort of something we've made up. You can actually hear what's his name. It's actually saying it in the House of Commons, can't you? I've got a video for it. I might add it onto this video actually.
Yeah.
So that people can hear it. I mean, to me, that if you've gone to have your vaccine, which you think is a vaccine, and you're given a placebo, to me that is fraud, because they're telling you that it's a deadly virus out there, and they give you a fake vaccine as such.
Yeah.
So they're opening you up to that deadly virus. So or do they not think it's a deadly virus, so they can get away with giving you a placebo because you won't know about it anyway because you think you had the vaccine. You know, it opens a whole big can of worms, doesn't it?
Well, what they've really not accounted for is we, the human race that haven't taken their chemical pathogen, are the witnesses to their genocidal crimes. And isn't it funny that every single one of them in house, all these politicians, all these celebrities say that they've taken it? Why aren't they having no effects like the rest of us have who have taken it?
Well, because I mean, we know for a fact that some of those are faked anyway, because I've seen videos where they've got caps on the needles and everything. You know,
exactly. And it's apparent now that they're still alive and there's nothing wrong with them. But they're still well enough to take the money. They're still well enough to keep pushing the agenda. But I do think now their agenda is collapsing, like the House of Cards is collapsing, because the truth is coming apparent now.
Yeah.
And the world know that it's a mass genocide program. The world know that it's a depopulation order. And the reason I believe this depopulation order has come about in this world is because the elites and all these governments and all these greedy people at the top have taken all the money of the world. They've taken all the profit. And as you know, they're worried now because they got to pay the pensions out. And they haven't got the money to pay because it's going to cost millions and billions and billions to cover everybody's pensions. This is the reason why I believe the midazolam was introduced, to murder and get rid of our older generation first, and then go down the chain.
Yeah.
So no one draws that pension.
Yeah, but not only that, it took them out of the equation anyway, didn't it? So they haven't got to pay to look after them as well.
Well, exactly. And it's so funny that, you know, if we start back to the beginning when all this began and that, where it began in Wuhan, and everybody was like sort of seeing the news coming in and there's loads of people dropping on the floor and they're all lying around. Everyone's in the space suits with a mask on. Okay. Now, if that was the case, how did Italy become affected all of a sudden in Europe and no other country was affected straight away? How comes our borders were allowed to stay open for an extra 3 months or so planes could come in and out? Okay. Because it was all part of the plan to make it look like it's come into our country. And then when that happens, all of a sudden, just before that happened, all the CEOs of the big companies stepped down, took their big payouts.
A lot did, didn't they?
Why would they be leaving? Why would they be leaving in a pandemic? People forgot to ask these questions. Why would they be leaving and just, you know, stepping down? Anyway, moving on. Then we got to look at the before the pandemic started, we had the Brexit. So remember the Brexit. Now, this is just before all the pandemic really started. Boris made an announcement that he will be paying the NHS 350 million.
Yeah.
Because we won't be paying the Brexit no more because we've come out of it. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
None of that money was ever seen. None. Then basically from there, the pandemic started. And then from there, all these PCRs. Now, remember what's his name, Mullis. I forget the guy's name now.
Carrie Mullis, yeah.
Harry Mullis. He died
Cheers,
a
by the
month
way.
or so. Yeah, cheers, brother. He died a month or so before this pandemic. Okay, he
Yeah.
died. You know, they said
Yeah, that was quite convenient. That was, wasn't it? Just before.
just before. But he even done a video before that was being blocked, telling people that you could not use this test because it's not a test to test for viruses. Okay, which they using it for. Now, next thing, they've organised all these tests, you know, that people got to take, the PCR tests. Bearing in mind, these were painted in 2018 because the proofs come out.
That's right, yeah.
They already had them made.
Yeah.
They already had them made.
Yeah, I've seen things with dates on them, yeah. I've even seen things with 2015 on them.
Yeah, well, there you go. So basically, they already had them made. Then we had the PPE scandal, where they bought a load of PPE and apparently it was ineffective. They had to buy more, but they had to pay double the price.
Yeah, that's right.
But the people who got the contracts were all in-house, all their families, all their friends. Okay, no one else got a look in. So we got the 350 million that went missing, right? Then we got the PPE contracts. Then we got the PCR testing. Then we got the COVID all mainstream media and all the advertising and all that's been paid for. All that money's been thrown in. Then all of a sudden, when it finally takes shape and we're saying we're infected now with COVID in our country, all of a sudden these hospitals were all of a sudden quickly put together 500 million for Nightingale hospitals, which, as we know, were never really used. So we had all our brothers and sisters out there that have got, you know, treatments that they need for cancer, transplants for liver and hearts and whatever, were unable to go and get their treatments. Okay, so all that money's been spent as well. And then as we're going on, we had Tom Moore, the guy who walked up and down and raised 33 million, bit of an odd number, bit of a Masonic number.
Yeah.
33 million that was going to be donated to the NHS. Okay, so just keep tabs on all this money at the moment, what's all being taken and being shared out. And as we go a little bit further down, the vaccines start coming in and everyone gets their first vaccines who want to take it and who don't. Yeah, but bearing in mind the midazolam has been used first to get rid of the older generation, because there's no point wasting them vaccines on the older generation if you're going to get rid of them with the midazolam. Okay, so then they get the first vaccine out. Now all of a sudden they talk about track and trace. They need to bring a track and trace system in. That's 38 billion, 38 billion pound that costs, and it failed. So where did all that money go?
Well, they say it costs that much. I don't know. I always wonder, but some of these prices they come up with, did they really cost that much?
But this is where I'm trying to explain to you. The money is being taken out of the public purse, okay, which ain't theirs to take. Okay, now where they've had the second vaccine, this is where you started seeing a lot more people. This is where you started seeing the hospitals start filling up. Before these vaccines were introduced, the hospitals were empty. Now these vaccines have been introduced, the hospitals are filling up with the double jabbed. Not us, the double jabbed, I'll repeat that. Okay.
Although they're telling us that it's actually unvaccinated people, aren't they?
Well, this is what they're trying to do now. They're trying to say in Europe now, they're locking down parts, Austria and places like that. And Australia, they want to lock down and say they want to lock down all the unvaccinated. So if you're vaccinated, you're free to walk around. But also, if you're unvaccinated, you can't go back to your job unless you get a vaccine, because you're going to lose your job. Now, remember this. Where did it say in your contract that you need to take a vaccine to work at your employer for your employee? It doesn't. It's not law. It doesn't. It's coercion. So you tell your employee, if he tries to say to you, you've got to take a vaccine or you're going to be sacked, tell him to put it in writing and show it and say to him, I want to see it in my contract where it says that. And if it don't, sign my bit of paper and I'll see you in court and sue your company.
Yeah, yeah.
Now,
luckily, I'm not in that position, but yeah. But I mean,
lot of these companies,
anyone seeing this, take that advice.
A lot of these companies are scared now but legally binding. Okay. Now, it's been drawn up by solicitors apparently, and you know it's official. So they won't sign it. These bosses won't sign it because they're scared. But if they don't sign it, video the conversation, video it, because that's your proof of you been sacked because you didn't take a vaccine. So basically, coercion again. Okay. So one thing has led to another now, where people are fearful of losing their job, so they go to take the chemical pathogen. But what you've got to ask yourself is this, guys: is your job really worth that risk to take that chemical pathogen when that chemical pathogen you could take in 6 months' time or even 3 years of your life down the line, you might not be here? Where if you don't take that chemical pathogen, yeah, you might lose your job, but you're still alive to go and do something else. That's the decision you need to make. And that's why you need to learn to stand your ground and stand up. But moving on to where we are present time with the booster shots they're bringing in now. They are trying to coerce people, and Boris is saying the over 45s now, you know, we need to get them in having their boosters. Now, a lot of people that we know have been double jabbed. People are now taking pine needle tea to detox what's in their bodies. Now, we also understand that a lot of people that are double jabbed now are having problems. And a lot of them, when they go into the hospitals now, are going there with blood clots. I repeat, blood clots. Okay? Your blood don't clot for no reason. And remember, guys, every single one of us is given a God-given immune system that works perfectly fine. Me and my brother David here, we're talking together now in front of you live. This ain't pre-recorded. We're live. We're still alive. And today is the 12th of November, just in case, you know, you think this is a pre-recorded thing. But it's we're alive. We've got no blood clotting. We're healthy. But a lot of our friends and people out there that we know have taken them and not well with these vaccines now.
I hear it every day, actually. You do too.
People in the hospital.
Yeah.
Every one of us knows someone out there now. And when you ask them, they say they've been vaccinated. Now, what's happening now? The vaccinated people are fearful now. But they were fearful in the beginning of what their government told them. But now they're fearful of what the government's told them to do, and they've done it. And now they've realised that they've shortened their lives by taking what they've been given. But the government haven't told them that, because there's a yellow card. It's called a yellow card. Okay. And a lot of people don't know about the yellow card. And if you go on the government website, it's called the yellow card. Check it out, guys. A lot of people are ringing this site up, and it's a government website, and they should answer your problems and that, which they're reporting their adverse effects.
Yeah.
There's
I mean, they should also be told,
sharing information.
So they should be told about that when they get their jabs anyway, shouldn't they? But nobody's being told anything, aren't they?
Well, before you have a chemical pathogen put into you, they should tell you about there's a yellow card system, vaccines, or they're not really vaccines, but you know, they're not mentioning that. And a lot of these people that are giving these chemical pathogens are not medically trained to deal with a situation if someone collapses, goes into cardiac arrest.
Yeah.
You still there, brother?
I'm still here, yeah. We was bouncing about a bit, but I think...
Yeah, I'm still there. Yeah, that's all right. But with the cardiac arrest, brother, this is another thing. A lot of us need to understand. We need to learn CPR. We need to learn how to do CPR, because you can't risk sending your families to hospitals, because you know once they go in, a lot of them are not coming out.
And who would have ever dreamt would be saying that, eh?
Exactly. But don't forget, the NHS has been sold off now. It was sold off in July. American company, an insurance company called, I think it's called Centurion Insurance or something. I'm not particularly sure of the name, but I was told it, have bought the NHS.
Yeah, that kind of
So
avoided the news as well, didn't it?
Yeah, so none of us knew about that even. It's all been smoke screens and mirrors to keep us away from what's been going on. All these cover-ups, like what you're seeing at the moment, all of a sudden, you know, we've had a lot of immigration coming in our country. Other countries have reported a lot of immigration. But these are UN soldiers, brothers and sisters, in the guise of immigration. They're fighting fit young men.
Yeah.
Now, explain this. Why would we take immigration into our country and put them up into our 4-star hotels all around the country, pick them up by coaches, by the coach load? Why would we accept thousands and thousands and thousands on Remembrance Sunday? That was yesterday. We had 1,185 refugees, all men again, turn up on the shores. Right? We have now got over 128,000 in our country, all dotted around. I'm hearing in Australia, there's hotels out there where there's soldiers being put up, UN soldiers. Okay.
I mean, do we actually know this for sure?
In Kenya, was on a plane the other night, flying from Kenya, brother. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I can still hear you.
You hear me?
Yeah.
Was flying from Kenya the other night and got a message sent from a family member, and they said they was on the plane and there was all soldiers on this plane flying with them. What's going on? That was from Kenya.
Yeah, and they're under the guise of, so they're under the guise of refugees.
Exactly.
I mean, it's like I've said for quite a while now. It seems like whenever you see pictures, and they all seem to be healthy young men. Now, why are they running away from a war-torn country? Why are they not standing there and fighting for their country? You know,
and none of them, brother, have got passports of where they've come from.
No.
What countries? Okay. They're all, but they've all got mobile phones, brother.
Yeah, I've seen that as well. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
You know.
So do you actually see this as going into like a martial law type of thing with these UN soldiers? Do you actually see it?
What I'm seeing is, I told you a couple of months ago when I done a live about the EBS warning, emergency broadcast system. We've got one in the UK. It was made a couple of months ago. Okay. Now, it also talks about flash flooding, fires, and terrorism. Now, all of a sudden, we have a terrorist attack. 21 months into our pandemic, we have a terrorist attack.
Well, 2 actually, if you include the murder of David Amess. Yeah.
Yeah. But what I'm trying to say to you is that happened. Okay. Now, are we being smoke screened and mirrored again? Is there another diversion coming up what they don't want us to know about? So they want to take our mind off of, because the COVID is losing its momentum now and people are not having their vaccines. They need to up the fear. They need to up the ante. Now, as we well know, the Queen ain't been in attendance of her duties. The Queen. So, the question's got to be, what is going on?
Yeah.
Where is the Queen gone?
I mean, I've heard the rumours that she could already be dead, but I mean, you know, as well as I wait, could that just be rumours, or you know, When
Well,
you hear the stories that they're waiting for a certain date to announce it, or well, I find it
what,
hard to believe some of these things. I must say, but then when you
yeah.
look at everything else that's happened over the last couple of years, is it so hard to believe? It's I would never have believed we were going to be where we are now. To be honest.
Well, what you got to ask yourself here is with the Queen. Okay, no one's seen her in public duties and all that. Now, surely the Queen will pop up somewhere. She wouldn't just disappear off the TV or off the media. Something would be said or something would be shown of her.
Mm,
But what I've got to say about this is we know there's a plan, and it's called London Bridge.
yeah, yeah,
And London Bridge relates to the Queen's funeral when she dies. And as we know 10 days of darkness will follow. Now, with the 10 days of darkness, is that the turning point where these so-called refugees become UN soldiers on our streets overnight, and we have martial law on our country? Because they need to secure the UK, because the UK is one of the richest countries in the world. You might not believe it. We have all the minerals still here that we've not used.
yeah.
There's
Well, I think we're still the banking capital of the world, aren't we?
We're part of the it's three arms. You've got Washington DC, the military. You've got the Vatican, the religious arm, and you've got the UK, the financial district. That's in the city.
Yeah. I think I might have lost you a little bit there, Wayne. Can you still hear me?
I can still hear you. Yes,
Yeah,
brother.
okay. I don't know if it's my end or what, but
it's quite interesting to see how it's all going to play out.
Oh, definitely.
But we need
and
to
scary.
be
It's really scary. I'll tell you what. It's. I mean, I'm not a scary person. I don't get scared that easy, but it is scary to know what the hell's going to happen next. What are you going to wake up to next?
There's nothing to be fearful of, brother. You
No,
in your power.
Myself, I mean, I'll be out there fighting on the streets if necessary. I've said it before,
yeah.
But it does worry me about how other people are going to take this, and are they just going to lay down and die and let it happen, or are they going to sort of stand up and fight for their country and fight for their freedom? I don't see it.
What you got to ask yourself, brother, when you get the fear or flight, that's your decision you make. Okay. But what you got to remember is we're the human race. And if we're being destroyed one by one, we've got to put a stop to it. And we've got to step up to the plate. Like our forefathers did, went off to and mark these words when I say it. We do not lay down and die.
No, we don't. You're right. I mean, the way I see it, if we have UN soldiers on our streets, that's an invasion to me.
It is an invasion, brother. It is an invasion.
And does that mean that our government is laying down and just letting them do it? Are they?
Our government is rogue, David. They're not our government. They ain't been our government for a while now.
No, I agree with you.
The corporation's all been dissolved. London, you could check it. July the 20th, I think, 2021.
Yeah, I've got the photo of it somewhere. I know.
And the Houses of Parliament, which they all talk in and all that.
And actually,
an illegal government.
As I understand, the Queen isn't our Queen either, because I think she sold out as well, didn't she?
Yeah. But remember, the Houses of Parliament is a pirate ship. It's not registered. Not registered. Pirate ship. And for the last probably few years, we've been governed by an illegal government.
Yeah.
And the Queen ain't been in charge because she signed over, like you said, you know. And the Vatican, the Pope and all that, the religious arm, has the power. You see? It's funny how it all works. But as we all know, we're all free, sovereign people down here.
Hmm.
And there is a mass genocide going on of our people.
Well, I want to say something now. Do you think many of the mainstream media actually know what's going on, or do you think that they've got the blinds on as well? You know, they are told lies and they just believe them, or do you think a lot of them do know what's going on?
They're involved with it, brother. They're complicit because they wouldn't be taking the money otherwise. Because by now you would see something, you'd smell a rat and know something's wrong.
Hmm. Yeah, but I wonder if
People,
some of them actually do, but just go along with it because of, like you say, that they've got the money coming in. But of course, that does in turn make them complicit in it. You know, same as the police. You know,
well,
the
what you've
police.
got to ask yourself, brother, what you've got to ask yourself, what good's the money going to be shortly when everything collapses?
Yeah,
Because you're going to have all the house prices are going to drop. Everything's going to collapse. It's coming. They are destroying the world. Not only the food, the air that we breathe, they're spraying the clouds every day, chemtrails. They're destroying the seas. And they're blaming the people for the pollution when they're doing it in their big planes, when they're doing all this evilness to the world. You know, it's a mass takeover. It's a mass takeover of the globe to take us and reduce us.
Yeah.
But what gives them the goddamn right to play God with our lives and decide who lives and who dies? No one has that decision apart from God above. But remember, the devil's down here in this world. The devil exists with his demons, and he's down here to take your souls. And he's good at taking your souls because he comes in many different disguises. He could be your best friend. He could be the guy up the road. And they deceive you. You can have everything. Give you the world if you want, if that's what you want, but they want one thing from you. And this is one thing that's precious to every single human being down here, our souls, while we're on our life journeys. But you've all got to understand, on your journeys that you're going through down here, you've got to overcome your fears. When you overcome your fears, you cannot be controlled no more. You become powerful because you stand in your power. Now, there's going to be a lot of people that's going to need our help. There's going to be a lot of fearful people out there because there's some things that are coming up. We're in battle now. We're in a spiritual battle, good versus evil. And believe me, there's going to be a few things that are going to happen shortly that's going to scare the pants off people. But you've got to stand up. Remember about the one ant I told you? That one ant, that's you. When you stand up and then your partner stands up, then your brothers and sisters stand up, then you become your army, then you become powerful. That's what we all need to do.
Yeah. Well, that's why we're doing things like this, isn't it, Wayne? To try and get, even in our small ways, trying to get the word out so that people need to start looking at things and examining things. Don't just believe what you hear on the BBC or the ITV or whatever. Please go out and research it. You know, just don't take everything that's told you, because majority of it's lies.
Remember, knowledge is power. One thing they don't want you knowing is the knowledge and the power. They want to dumb you down. They don't want you being powerful. They are fearful of us now, brother, because they know we have woke. They know the great awakening is happening, and they know no matter how much censorship they're doing on us everywhere around the world, we're going on the streets now. We're speaking to our brothers and sisters. We're cold calling. We're putting leaflets out. We're putting information around. They can't stop that. And this is their fear now. This is why they want to lock down everything again.
Yeah, to keep us out of the way, but that won't work because people just won't listen. It's not going to work. No.
And I believe the way it's going, if it carries on, brother, it will go to civil war. And it will start in America. And then the world will all go off and ignite. There'll be battles everywhere with them.
Well, it's almost
But
getting
they
to that
would lose.
stage now, isn't it? In a lot of European countries that are
Yeah,
actually imposing all these harsh.
yeah,
Even in Australia now, people are
yeah.
actually standing up and in their
They are.
thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of
They are.
thousands.
They
You
are,
know,
and they're getting fearful.
yeah.
I even see a video today. there's a there was a car pulled up with all the crowd with a trailer on the back, and they had a makeshift guillotine, not a guillotine, hanging the rope
Hey,
where they
the
hang people
noose,
from.
right? Yeah,
The noose. They had one on the back of the thing. Now that could be a worrying thing to put out there for the politicians and all that, because if you know you've been involved in genocide and you've murdered your people, it ain't going to be long before your people come looking for you.
yeah. And they
It
can't
ain't going
always
to be
be
long.
protected, can they?
And all this, what they've passed out a month or so ago with Boeing, how do we not know that MP was murdered was a sacrifice because he spoke out and stood up for the people, and they
Yeah,
can't have that.
I have heard that theory. I did hear that the police took half an hour to get there, and I did hear that the murderer himself, this is only what I've heard, was in some sort of a trance of some kind. I mean, was he set up to, you know, and programmed for it? I don't know. I mean,
Well, when you look back in time, when you go back to Germany many, many years ago in the war days, they used to do things with the Germans. They used to have specially trained soldiers. They used to use and do remote viewing with them.
hmm,
Sort of telepathically, but seeing and look into things and put thoughts out there. Plus, they used to experiment with a lot of psychedelics, LSD and things like that on their soldiers to see if they could make a super soldier that could be can't be mind controlled as in that way, but mind controlled by them, what
hmm,
they need basically. And I think as technology's evolved over the years, this is where this chemical pathogens come now, because they know with radio frequency and 5G, which they brought in there, because it's funny how all that infrastructure started being built when we was in a mass pandemic. All these telecom workers were allowed and engineers were allowed to work outside while everyone else was locked down, but there was a
yeah,
pandemic
I know.
and it all went up. So we've got to look at it now and think to ourselves, we know the jigsaw puzzle's coming together. But all of a sudden, getting back to it, in our country, we've got a mass problem, another pandemic, or should I say pandemic?
Yeah, definitely a pandemic. Yeah, like that.
Global warming. Global,
Oh yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
No, but also they've
Where
got
did that
more.
come from?
They've got more deadly viruses being planned. I saw
Oh
something
yeah,
today. I
yeah,
saw something
yeah,
today about from the fish markets from in China. They're talking about
yeah.
more deadly viruses appearing.
And you've got to keep up. And you've got to keep up the ante now. And I mean,
yeah.
everything that's going on out there now.
Yeah. As you were saying, it's actually very, very scary stuff that's going on. As I say, I'm fearful about what I wake up to next morning. You know, I'll tell you what. You know, you were talking about 55, the 55, the 5G a little while back. You know, there was
Yeah,
there was a cruise liner that went out, didn't it? And
that's right.
everybody on had to be vaccinated on that cruise liner, and
And they went
apparently
downhill.
quite a lot of people went down with COVID. And it was
Yeah,
actually released that that cruise liner was completely on 5G. And
that's
I
right.
think a few people died. At least one person died, I believe, as well.
That's right. Because what it is, as we know, the chemical pathogen that's being given to people has got graphene oxide in, which graphene oxide is magnetic.
Yeah, and that's been examined by several scientists, hasn't it? Now, nobody ever mentions that on mainstream media either. Now, why is
No,
that?
because they don't want you knowing, because it interferes with frequency. Magnets interfere with,
Yeah,
you know, coordinations and everything, don't they?
yeah.
And
I mean, you and I
signals and
have
jamming.
we've seen quite a few scary little videos of people that have been breaking pills up. Even these new
Yeah,
pills they've brought out, and
that's right.
they're all magnetic. They put it in
Yeah.
water and everything. You know.
And there's also been ones where they get the capsules and inside they're putting nails in them, little tacks, but it's all packaged up so everything looks good. You just open the packet and pop it. You don't realise what's it about.
What the hell?
And it's like worrying to think they've got to do that to us,
Yeah.
to poison us.
Well, what they've done is, because of people not taking out the vaccine, it seems like they've invented this pill all of a sudden that will do the same job as the vaccine is supposed to be doing. And people
Yeah.
might be more willing to take the pill rather than have the injection. You know,
Yeah.
that's the way I
Yeah.
see it.
But what you've got to ask yourself here is, what's their end game? It's to wipe out humanity.
Yeah.
We are the last surviving race, brother. We are the last bloodlines. Okay, our bloods, we are pure 100% human. We have not changed our DNA to RNMA, you know, what they are doing now. We haven't. Now, what you've got to look at, what happens when any of us have an accident? We might not be able to go to the hospital. Say we need blood. How do we get blood transfusions done when a lot of this blood could be contaminated now by people who've been vaccinated and given it?
You wouldn't trust it now, would you? No.
Well, these are things. Also, you've got to ask yourself where people are out there now, and you've got dating sites even. You know, you might laugh at it and that, but dating sites, people now are wary of dating someone who's vaxxed to unvaxxed.
I don't laugh at anything now, don't Wayne, honestly.
No, but I'm saying,
I shake my head in disbelief a lot of the time, but I don't laugh at anything.
But what they're doing, they're trying to put a divide against the people and making people into transhumans, you know, like Star Trek, the Borg.
Yeah.
And is there a switch that in time, when they turn this on everywhere, this 5G, okay, it could affect us as well? But with all this spraying that they're doing with these nanoparticles, are we breathing that metal in as well? Is it affecting us?
Yeah. I have heard also it's in some foods as well that we're eating.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's quite possible in your foods. I mean, chocolate bars have been found, certain chocolate bars, when they crunched them down and sort of made them smaller and they put like the magnet, it picked up bits out of it, iron filings in there, but you wouldn't know because you're just putting it in your body. But the blood clotting is the biggest issue because it causes the heart attacks, the strokes, and you know the other effects that are coming from it, because people like have gone blind, paralyzed. Myocarditis, is it? I think they're suffering from as well.
Yeah,
something to do with
myocarditis. Yeah.
The younger ones that are taking it, their hearts are getting enlarged and they're getting problems, and they're meant to be healthy and fit. Look at the athletes and all that have taken this.
Loads of them.
The footballers, right? Collapsing on the pitches. These are fit athletes. That shouldn't happen. When have we heard any children dying in the schools? When we went to schools, did we hear any of our friends of that die? No. So only since these chemical pathogens have been introduced into this world, where people are seeing the effects now.
Yeah.
We're seeing people in the streets now, brother. We're going to see a lot of it, people just collapsing. Another worrying aspect, say we're on the motorway driving. Say someone has a stroke on the motorway, or a heart attack, blood clots. They could be the driver.
It causes a mess. Yeah.
You know, and this is due to the vaccines. And like, you know, with this as well, insurances, there's no and void. If any of you got an insurance policy out there and you've taken a chemical pathogen, check your policy. I bet it doesn't cover you. If you die tomorrow, I bet your mortgage don't get paid. I bet your insurance won't pay out for your accident if they find out that you've died.
I did see, I think it was a Bupa thing that somebody asked that question and they said they wasn't insured.
There you go. Well, I spoke to a guy in Lloyd's of London, okay? And he worked for Lloyd's of London as a broker. And he was explaining to me that if you take a chemical pathogen, the insurance will not cover you because you've died from an experimental jab.
Yeah.
That's not covered by them, okay? He also told me that his company was bought out and it's not owned by Lloyd's of London no more. And I went, who owns your company? He said, China.
I think China have actually bought a lot of stuff in this country. I think they own all their gasworks and things, don't they? And still works.
But this is the thing that's coming now. All the winter months, the dark winters, they're going to call it. They're going to up the ante now, and everyone needs to be ready. Everybody needs to have a place where they can go and meet each other, a place, to safe house where they can talk and share things. Because when the communications go down, and don't think they're not, because they'll be going down. And when that happens, that'll be your 10 days of darkness. It might even be longer than that. But that could be the time when they send out the UN soldiers to round you all up, to take you all down, all the unvaxxed. Because if you're vaxxed, they can scan you. They've got machines that can scan, like the blue lighting system they're putting up around the world now. America's got a lot of it. The light bulbs in the street lights. Anybody who's vaxxed stands under there, they glow like the Ready Brek kid. Okay. Now, weren't it funny that the last few years they've introduced at our airports these things that you walk into, and it zips around you, and scans your whole body. You know? Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah. I've been through them myself. Yeah, I know the ones you mean.
And they can take you right down to your bone structure.
Yeah.
But they must have ultraviolet lighting in there now that can read, because they're saying that they know people who are vaxxed and unvaxxed. So if you try to get a fake COVID pass or whatever they're trying to introduce, they will know that you're unvaxxed.
The thing is, though, right, there's millions of us. It's not just sort of like 1 million or 2 million. There's more like 40 million people that are not fully vaccinated now. They can't round 40 million people up, can they?
I know this, but the coercion, they need to get out there. They need to keep the fear going. They need to keep you controlled. And the longer you allow to be controlled, the more they push. Now, what you've got to remember is, the longer this goes on, the less money people have. People are going to their banks now, drawing money down. It's taking 4 to 5 days to get a bit of £5,000 in cash. Yeah. What's going on?
Yeah.
But they can't afford to have a run on the banks now, because if everyone goes to the banks tomorrow and says we want our money, they couldn't pay everyone.
And we advise everyone to do that.
We do.
Anyone that's watching this, get your money out.
Get your money out, because if it all crashes tomorrow and the systems all go down, how do you survive? And don't forget, the money, they keep printing the money. The money is worthless, but they haven't told us yet. This is why they need to bring in this digital currency. This is why they're saying you will be happy and own nothing. Because all them CEOs, them greedy bastards, sorry for swearing there, Dave, but they
that's
are.
All right. It don't matter on this one. This don't go out on a network, so that's all right.
No. So all them now will be coming back. Them CEOs with their big loads of money that they've been investing, because a lot of them have invested in shares of the vaccines as well.
Yeah.
And then they'll be coming out and buying a load of property up and everything off people who can't afford it no more, dirt cheap. And they're still in debt, you know? But it's funny to think, when you look at all this, how we've been conditioned with money, how we've been controlled with money. What is that money worth to us? We don't ask them questions. When we say, that's £20 worth of what?
Yeah.
You can't eat paper. You can't eat paper. You can't eat paper.
I mean, those pieces of they're just an IOU, basically, aren't they?
Exactly. Anyway. And what's gonna happen when the Queen dies? All her face and all that money has got to be changed, isn't it? She's not around no more.
Yeah, well, I never thought about that. Yeah.
So how much is that going to cost? So wouldn't it be better to go one currency all around the world? This is what they want, New World Order. And when they've flown in to COP26, I believe there was more sinister things going on than.
Oh, I do too. Yeah, I do.
And I believe all the bloodlines are involved in this, because they know the Queen's going to be gone. They needed to divide up all the assets of the world, what they all share, because the Queen is controlled all over of it.
Yeah.
because all of a sudden that just come out of the blue.
Yeah, because I mean, why was Prince Charles there for a start again? What's what's
Exactly.
really he got to do with any of that? You know,
Exactly. And every year he's been saying global
I call him
climate
Prince
crisis.
Charles, just Charles. He's not a prince to me.
No, but I mean, all this climate crap. The sea levels haven't rose.
No, of
The
course they haven't.
sun
No.
still rises in the sky. The ice caps that we can't see have not melted. Okay, we're still alive. Everything that's being caused out there is being caused by them to create smoke screens and mirrors, to create fear, to keep us all controlled.
In fact, so you're talking about the fear thing again. Also, Wayne, they're actually trying to tell you there could be World War III now with China and Russia, which is you know, another thing that could actually happen as a fake war.
Yeah, and if it did happen, and that we wouldn't all be here. So, what you got to worry about? Every single one of us has got to remember this. We're on life journeys down here.
Yeah.
We are spiritual beings inside of this body, which is a vessel. We're on our journeys, learning our lessons down here, blessings and lessons. But what you will need to understand is you need to overcome your fear, because there's nothing to be fearful of, okay? Yes, the devil's down here and he wants your souls, like I've explained, but what you've got to remember is your souls are not for sale, okay? And when we leave this world, that was our time to leave, and there's nothing to be fearful of, because we will go back home. Home. The ones that are sold will not be leaving this world. They are destined to stay here for what they've done. The rest of us are on our life journeys.
Yeah.
I mean,
in fact, do you believe that this actually could be hell we're living in?
Well, 7 layers above, 7 layers below. You've heard of the saying?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I would say, like I've said to you before, brother, I'm an old soul. I've been back a few times down here.
Yeah.
And this is my last time. And I'm back here for the battle.
I don't know about me. I don't know where I am in all this, but I don't know if I'm an old soul or whatever.
Well, I'm going to tell you. It's not by chance we've all been connected down there in this last year or so.
Yeah.
It's not by chance. We know more brothers and sisters now, because we are brothers and sisters. We're all connected. You might not think it. What colour, creed, religion, we're all connected. But we've been misguided. We've been misled. Remember, we come into the world born via a spirit into the body. We come into this world. We come into the world and the worldly world, and we've got our own free will to do what we want. But when we become spiritual, something happens. The veil gets removed. We see things differently. We look at the beauty of the trees. We look at the nature around us. We're not drawn to the money, the power, the fame, the fortunes, the egos, the material things that don't affect us like it does the wealthy people. They put money before their God. And every one of us has got to understand God exists. And we're all down there. And we're all being tested, spiritually tested. And some of us are going through some tough battles down here. But remember, God has now called his most powerful and toughest warriors, light workers, brothers and sisters. He's calling you all now to stand up for Mother Earth. Stand up for the human race against the evil ones down here. And do not be fearful. Yes, I'm going to tell you the truth. We are going to lose a few of our brothers and sisters along the way. We are going to lose some of our soul family down here with what's happening. But we are the remaining human race. And we need to make a stand. And we need to stand up now. We are in a battle. We are in World War III. Everything is happening is biblical. Revelations 13, whether you believe it or not, it's happening all around us. And it's playing out. and you all need to take your stand now.
Do you believe
You
a
all need to
lot?
be
Do you believe a lot of it started with 9/11, Wayne? I do.
It's been going on. It's been going on for over 2,000 years. This
Well, yeah,
battle
I
with
meant, but what I
people.
mean is it this latest sort of the real where it really kicked off for where we are now. I believe it started with 9/11. That was the real sort of
I think that was the eye opener for a lot of people who are worldly down here at first, before they become spiritual. I think that was their spiritual awakenings. They needed something to open their eyes to see the real truth and real things that have happened.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was one of the things that opened my eyes a bit later on. Because when 9/11 happened, I was actually working in the defense industry, making weapons of mass destruction, believe it or not. But later on, I've actually come to realise that we were lied to, you know, and
history has all been a lie, brother.
Yeah.
Everything that you've seen, even the wars where people were put against each other. All right, that was fake. You know, everything that's been added and taken away, a bit like the Bible, where they've got a Bible and they keep changing it, rewriting it, new Bible,
and hiding some of it. Yeah.
Listen, we stand under God, the 10 commandments that has always been. How many of them commandments have been broke by the evil ones, brother? How many have they broke? Justice has to come from
all of them. Yeah.
And we are justice. We are justice. And they are not going to get away with their crimes. And no one can escape this world. No one. You're all destined to die here. No one's ever escaped this world.
Although they seem quite they seem quite convinced that they are going to win, though, aren't they? You know, I mean, the way I see it, I think they don't mind losing a few of their puppets, like people like Boris Johnson. They don't mind throwing people like that under the wheels of the bus, because the people that control them don't care about all that. Because there's people way above those, aren't there? These puppets like Biden and Johnson and God knows who else. Do you agree with that?
Do you want to know a secret, brother?
Yes, please.
God wins. The light wins. We win.
Yeah.
But like I said, we're going to lose a few of our brothers and sisters along the way. But we need to stand firm. We need to stand up and be counted. And do not be fearful of what's going to happen.
No.
Because this is what they want. When you, like I said to you, I've said this a couple of times through this.
Yeah.
When you become when you're fearful, you become controlled. When you're not fearful no more, they become fearful of you. And remember what I said about a warrior. A warrior, he doesn't engage the enemy straight away. He stands back. He observes the battlefield. He works out his strategies. But it's not only physical he fights mentally and spiritually. He weakens the enemy. He raises their blood pressure. He causes them not to be sleeping. He causes them to make mistakes because they don't know when he's going to attack the warrior. They don't know when the warrior is going to attack. But when the warrior weakens them by his knowledge, wisdom and power, then you take them down. And this is what's happening. They're being weakened. And now what's happening all over the world, you could call it like lighting fires. There's fires everywhere, going off everywhere. Where they tried to contain everyone, like in our country, everyone used to go to a march and everyone was drawn to London, Manchester, Bristol, Birmingham. Now what's happening, people are not going to these big ones. They're doing their own things everywhere.
Like splinter groups, they call them, yeah.
So they can't control everything no more. And this is their fear now, because they're waking more people up. Do you see?
Yeah.
And no matter how much news broadcasts and how much papers they put out there, the people are fighting back with leaflets, word of mouth, speaking their truths.
Yeah.
People are using their eyes. People are seeing their people.
And
now
also, I think you get to a point where also people start asking questions as to why this is not on the news when we've seen all these people out on the streets blocking the road. Well, not so much blocking the roads, but filling the streets up, and there's nothing on the news about it. Why is that? Now, why don't we see this on the news? Are you hiding it from us?
Because
You know?
it's called censorship, brother.
Yeah,
And there's big it's called follow the money trail. There's
yeah.
big money involved, and this is why they're worried, because the shareholders are losing their money now, because the investments that they've invested are collapsing. Okay, because people are not on the uptake now to take these chemical pathogens anywhere around the world. And you know, it is upsetting to see our brothers and sisters that have taken it, knowing that we can't help them.
Well,
We don't know the cure.
We've also got no way of knowing of how many of them were actually placebos, have we? I mean, I've heard a figure of between 30 and 50% were placebos. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. It's just something I've heard.
Yeah.
We can only hope that a lot of those people that we know personally, you know, have had these vaccines as such, have had the placebo, and they'll be okay. But
what you got to think of here, when you think of something, you attract it. Your mind thinks, goes into flight mode, panic, stress, you know. And this is a thing that I think that's what they've done. They've entrapped a lot of people in the world with debt, the debt that they've got the people in. Because everybody should be able to have a roof over their head, food on their table, live their life to whatever they got to live. They shouldn't have to be worrying about not being able to pay a bill and all this. Everybody should have a bit of the cake.
Yeah.
But they've taken all the cake and there's only crumbs left. Okay? But fear not, brothers and sisters. We will get through this. We help our brothers and sisters. We help each other. We share what we have. We rebuild. We replant. But we've got to make sure we bring justice to them now.
Absolutely. And like you say, we're on this face down now. I think when we go on these marches and we're facing down the police that are looking at us, we're actually challenging them now to actually try to do something in support of us, aren't we?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. We're telling them go and arrest the criminals, because if you won't arrest the criminals, the people will.
Yeah.
And if that happens, well, you just have to stand aside, because it's going to come, because there's people being trained up now to be constables. There's people doing citizens arrest training.
Yeah.
And it will happen.
I mean, but then aren't they going to? Yeah, but aren't they going to be saying that these people are actually committing a crime? You know, they'll try and turn it around.
Well, they're protecting the corporations.
Yeah,
they're not protecting the people to serve and protect the people. They're not. They're corporations. So they don't realise they're just pawns in this. And they're going to be chewed up and spit out shortly.
Yeah.
And then they're going to be thrown to the wolves.
Yeah. Well, their families will suffer just the same as everyone else, won't they?
And the people will say, we remember what you done.
And
that's going to be a hard pill to swallow for a lot of them. Because a lot of them now on the streets, when you approach them, speak to them, they can't look you in the eye. They got to look away. And you can see, because the eyes are the windows to your souls. Look in the eyes when you ask the questions. You will know if there's a true soul answering the question honestly back, because they will connect with your eyes and answer that question and look you back and say that question or answer that question back. Yeah. The ones who tell the lies, you will look them in the eyes. Their soul will be so embarrassed it'll look away. You know they've lied. You know, the soul gives up the truth. And that's what happens. A lot of people don't understand that. We're all down here on these life journeys, and a lot of you have got spiritual gifts that you don't even know that you've got yet. But everything will come apparent shortly, because the world's been put into a distress. And the battle lines have been drawn. And you've chosen your sides now. You stand on the light, brother. Like a lot of us do.
I think that's growing. Actually, it's not just us. I mean, I've seen it growing over the last year or so. I think you have as well.
Yeah.
You know,
and you're finding a lot more people now are looking more spiritual, more religious side now, where before they used to just forget all that. It used to be money and power and fame and fortune control.
Yeah.
A lot more
yeah.
people are talking about God now. A lot more people are talking about spiritual stuff now.
Yeah, certainly from the spiritual side, I see a lot of that because, as you know, I do a radio show, and as I said before, I'm going to have you on that radio show as well. This is a spin-off
Okay,
thing. This is a
that's
spin-off
right.
thing I'm doing at the moment. But
Yeah.
I do hear that a lot about the spiritual side. I mean, I've got to say, I'm not actually particularly religious, although I was actually confirmed into the church and everything. I kind of started asking questions when I was a teenager. I thought, well, a lot of it just didn't kind of make sense to me. But it still didn't make this. It still didn't. I still believed in spiritualism and everything. You know, I still believe in spirit. And, well, I know it. I know it's spirit. I don't believe it. I know it. You know, I've had enough experience of it. So
I say one thing, brother. Prayer is powerful.
Yeah, it's like a focus point, isn't it?
Powerful.
Whichever way you look at it, whether you think you're praying to a god or so, it's a focus point to something spiritual. You know,
you don't have to go to church to pray, brother.
Exactly.
You know, like some people say, "Oh, you got to no." You can send up whatever you got to send out, and you're sending it out.
Yeah, you don't need to go to these beautiful buildings, which they are beautiful buildings. I mean, I love churches, you know, the history of them and everything, but they were built from blood of our ancestors.
Yeah. Well, did you know years ago all the churches never had windows in? They used to be like portos, didn't they, for the energy to flow through? Because you used to have the mercury balls on the top of the steeples and that used to connect the energy.
Yeah.
You know?
And a lot of them on ley lines as well.
Yeah, and you look at all the electric cars, like electric cars they had back then. You might not have thought they had them, but they did in the 1900s and that. They had electric milk floats when we were kids.
That's right.
Used to charge them up.
Yeah.
You know, so why would we go back to electricity when it's going to be useless? Because
they only went 3 miles an hour though. But
yeah, but you think of the people that are going to be pulling this electricity off the grids. More people will be using the electricity.
Yeah.
So how's it all going to work?
Well,
where they're going to draw that extra energy from? It ain't going to be possible.
Talking about these electric vehicles while we're on it, I saw a thing the other day. There was a digger. Somebody had a digger, and it was being charged up, and he was laughing. You saw that one, didn't you? It took 8 hours to recharge it because the battery went flat after 2 hours. It was being charged with a diesel. It's crazy. What's going on? You know.
But this is the thing. There's a lot of cars now that are electric that are catching fire, and the insurance company charges 3 times more insurance to insure electric car now, because when the batteries die after 3 years, they cost a fortune to replace.
Yeah.
So,
and you got to carry these great big cables about with you in order to plug into your power point, haven't you?
Power source.
As I saw a few weeks back in London, I thought, what the hell? So you got to get this great big heavy cable out the back of your car, chucking down the rain.
That's it.
And so what happens when it's raining and you've got electricity and rain doesn't mix very well, does it? I don't know if they've got a protection on them or something.
Conductor, brother.
You know, so there'll be a few people singeing, I think, somewhere.
But one thing people need to understand, they need to connect to Mother Earth.
Yeah.
And that means taking your shoes and socks off. That means standing on the ground. Because as you know, we use rubber tires, rubber soles, rubber shoes when we walk around. We're not connecting spiritually to the ground, to Mother Nature. But when we stand there, we draw up energies from the ground, like electricity goes through us. We draw up energies. Go to the sea, stand in the sea, put your feet in the sea, stand at a stream, you know, go and hug a tree. It's all energy that replenishes us, you know. When we go to bed at night, we do not think when we sleep, you know, about our heart beating, about our breathing. We just go to sleep, but our spirit inside puts our body to rest, to rejuvenate, to re-energize, okay, to heal, basically. When we're not well, we have to lay down because the body needs to heal and it fights. That's what our immune system does, okay? When we wake up in the morning, and we open our eyes, all of a sudden the colours start coming together and we start to focus and we see the beautiful colour around us. We don't think about what's going on inside of us. We just pick our phones up straight away You know, put the telly on, make a coffee, have a
Cup of
cigarette,
coffee, yeah.
right, things like that. But we don't think what's going on with inside of us.
Mm.
Okay. But when something's wrong, like if something happens, this is where we're telepathic. We get feelings. We can send messages to each other, but we've lost the knowledge how to do it. Okay. Now, when something goes really badly wrong, we get a feeling of that before that phone call comes, because we're connected, but you don't understand it at the time.
Yeah, I've experienced that. Yeah, when you think of
Yeah.
somebody and suddenly they phone you up. Yeah, I've had that a few times.
But when we go back home, we don't go back home in body form. We go back home in spirit.
Mm.
And that's how we communicate back home, telepathically with each other. Thoughts. But we've got that knowledge, which has been lost down here, but we can do that down here.
Mm.
And this is what they're worried about, us finding out how it's done.
Yeah. And I think anyone listening to this, if you can't sort of get your head around that, if you think about your thought pulses, the energy that comes out of your brain, they're electrical pulses. You can't destroy electricity, so that is kind of your life force that goes on, if you like. You know, you leave your body behind, and
Well,
that's
your heartbeat is a pulse, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Electricity.
Mm.
How do they start you when you die?
Yeah,
they start you with electricity.
Yeah.
How do they stop your heart? With electricity.
Yeah.
We've got a pulse.
Mm.
We're all connected, you know. And when you look at the body, it's amazing. It's an amazing thing, the body, and we take it for granted.
Yeah.
Because your body's a temple. Remember, your body's a temple. What you put in it will affect you. If you put poisons in, it will affect your body, and that's what's happening.
Mm.
Okay, but you need to understand. You need to stand in your power. Every single one of you got power out there that you can stand in, and do not think you haven't. It's only the fear that stops you from becoming powerful. When you become fearful, like I said before, you become controlled. Remember that. And you do not need to go there, because you've got nothing to be fearful of. Everything you want will happen in some way or another. But you become fearful and you reject it because you've got so much worry going on, you can't think straight, and all you're doing is attracting negative vibes all the time.
Yeah.
So everything's coming into you is negative. Nothing's going to be good happening, is it?
No, that's right.
But when you put that aside and just start thinking positive, you're going to draw that in and doors start opening again. Yeah. Do not think we're not connected. Every one of us can send a message telepathically. You might need a job, David. You might say, I need a job. What am I going to do? Say a little prayer that night. I guarantee you the next day you'll get a phone call from someone just out of the blue and say, oh, I've got a little job. And you'll
By the way,
wow.
I don't want a job.
No, you don't. I know you don't. But that's how it works.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
We've got to allow our energies to flow.
Yeah.
And understand we're spiritually connected, all of us.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
And this is where we are now. But we're in a battle and we need to be ready.
Yeah. I know. In fact, Wayne, I want to do another show with you because I want to talk about things that a lot of people might find it difficult to get their heads around about reptilians and paedophilia, the connections between the people that control this planet. And I think
it's all real, guys. It's all real. It's all happening out there. Don't think it's not.
And I think maybe next week or the week after we'll do perhaps another show if you're willing, and we'll talk a lot about that because I know there's a lot connected to what's going on now with all that, and people might not be able to get their heads around it. I mean, I've had a job getting my head around it, but and you wouldn't believe the horror that's going out there, you know, that's with these people.
Well, I mean, what people really need to look into, two main things out there, is where's the money gone and where's the children gone? 8 million children missing in the world last year alone.
Yeah,
this is a subject for another day.
8 million. 8 million.
8 million.
And that's more or less every year, that kind of figure, isn't it?
And in the UK alone, 178,000 were missing last year. Where was the media coverage? Where weren't it on the news? How can you lose 178,000 children? Put all their shoes in a park. It'd go on for miles and miles. You're telling me you couldn't miss them. You couldn't miss them.
Yeah,
but
that's right. I know.
They know more than they're telling, brother, and this is the truth coming out now.
Yeah, the crazy thing is, if a couple of hundred children were killed in an accident, say, I mean, God forbid, but that would get on the news, wouldn't it? But all these thousands, tens of thousands. Yeah,
think 178,000 children gone missing in a year. How many planes would that be crashing?
I know.
If a plane holds 360 on each plane, how many planes would have to go down?
Yeah,
I don't know. I can't do the maths at the moment,
but if you put if you think about those children going missing, sex trafficking, paedophiles, the cabal, the major cabal, and the world control, put those all together, and that's where
satanic ritual abuse as well. They do with the kids.
That's the next show we're going to do, and it's going to be. We'll try and open it up as much as we can and talk about as much as we can. And also, we know Jeanette Archer. Maybe we'll do another show with her. Maybe we can get her on that show. I don't know. We'll talk about that. But
that'd be amazing.
We certainly need to try and get that out to people.
I'm going to see Jeanette Archer this Wednesday, I think. I'm not sure, because we've got a police whistleblower, as you know.
Yes. Now, Wednesday, I hope to be there Wednesday. So.
Oh, that'd be brilliant, brother. I'll catch up with you then.
Yeah.
But this is going to be big. This is going to be big.
Yeah.
This has never happened before.
I've got to get an early train into London. So,
oh, bless you.
But
you don't have to be there straight at 10. Get in there just after, say.
Yeah, I think that's what the train will do. Actually, probably get there about 10:15, the way I've looked at it. But
if you leave too early, you have to pay a lot more money, I'm told. So don't rush.
After 9, I think it's a little bit cheaper. But I do intend to be there. So
yeah,
I shall see you on the steps.
This is going to be an amazing, powerful day.
Yeah, and this is a police whistleblower. We won't say anything more about it. Perhaps we can talk about that next week, Wayne, when we come back.
It's going to go on for 3 weeks, this case in London, providing nothing else happens with this scamdemic.
Yeah.
Because they always seem to bring something in when something's meant to be happening.
Or a terrorist attack.
We got it, yeah.
Well, you got to keep thinking about all these things.
Mm-hmm. And this is another thing quickly about terrorist attack. They've got a meeting, haven't they, coming up? They've got a social gathering. Everyone's coming. Is it to London or all over the country? I don't know where it is.
On Saturday, there's another big meeting. Yeah.
Is that in London, is it?
Yeah, I think it's Hyde Park Corner again, if anyone wants to come.
What I'm thinking, brother, would they try and do a terrorist attack there?
Well,
I'm scared of people.
Yeah. It's a possibility. I know it's a scary possibility.
You've got to be vigilant.
But it's not going to stop me. It won't stop me going.
No.
And I think
You've got to stand up for the truth.
Because the way, if we start thinking in that direction, we won't go anywhere, and we'll just still sit and cower at home. And but I'll never do that. But
well, you never give in to terrorism, brother. You always stand up for who you are, and that's who we are. But like I say, it's been beautiful speaking to you tonight. And
you, Wayne, it's great to see you, and hopefully I'll see you in a day.
Family.
I'll see you in a day or two. Thank you. Yeah, and you take care of yourself.
And we'll catch up soon.
Yeah, take care of yourself, mate. Cheers. Thanks for coming on, Wayne. Cheers. Thank you.
No worries.
Cheers, mate.
Bye-bye.